Tyler Perry is one of Hollywood's most powerful creators. He's the man behind 24 feature films, 20 stage plays, 17 television shows, and 2 New York Times best-selling books. He owns a 330-acre film studio in Atlanta, one of the largest in the United States, and is a billionaire celebrated for philanthropy and for telling stories centered on faith and family. But now, Perry faces serious allegations that threaten to overshadow that legacy. In June 2025, actor Derek Dixon filed a $260 million civil lawsuit claiming that Perry SH'd him and assaulted him during the years they worked together on Perry's BET drama The Oval. Perry has denied all allegations through his attorney, who calls the claims fabricated and an attempt to set up a scam. On September 10th, 2025, as headlines were understandably dominated by the murder of Charlie Kirk, Derek Dixon gave his first on-camera interview about the case to ABC News. In that interview, he described in detail what he says he experienced while working with Tyler Perry. Allegations that, if proven true, paint a deeply troubling picture of abuse of power on one of Hollywood's biggest sets. This evening, we will look at what Derek Dixon alleges happened, how Tyler Perry has responded, and why the timing of this interview meant that a story of this magnitude almost disappeared from public view. Derek Dixon's first on-camera interview aired on September 10th, 2025, a day that will be remembered for something else entirely. That morning, the world was stunned by the assassination of commentator Charlie Kirk. The shockwaves were immediate. Major networks shifted to continuous coverage and social media feeds filled with breaking updates, tributes, and even debate. Many have already called it the most significant political assassination in the United States since John F. Kennedy. In the midst of that global moment, Derek Dixon's ABC News conversation detailing his allegations against Perry went largely unnoticed. Under ordinary circumstances, a $260 million civil lawsuit accusing one of Hollywood's most successful and wealthy and powerful filmmakers of SH and also assault would have dominated headlines for days, if not weeks. But on a day when the nation and much of the world were reeling from a tragedy, even major entertainment stories were inevitably eclipsed. That context matters. It's not about blaming the public or downplaying the gravity of the assassination. Not at all. It's simply about understanding how timing and an overwhelming news cycle can unintentionally bury another significant story. In this case, it's completely understandable. But when attention is focused on a national crisis, which it must be, even serious allegations involving a billionaire entertainment mogul can quietly fade from view. So today we are going to look at these allegations in greater detail because I've watched that interview and Derek definitely tells a compelling story. To understand why Derek Dixon's story matters, you have to know who he is and how deeply his career became tied to Tyler Perry. Derek wasn't a random extra or someone on the outskirts of the industry. He was a working actor building a real career. He first met Tyler Perry back in 2019 at a studio opening party. According to Derek, Perry approached him personally, asked if he was an actor, and handed him his number with the words, "We will talk about this." For any young performer, that's the kind of moment you dream about. Imagine meeting a billionaire creator who has launched multiple hit shows and owns a 330-acre film studio. This wasn't just a handshake, it was a potential career rocket. By early 2020, that dream seemed to come true. Derek landed the role of Dale on Perry's BET series The Oval. Not a walk-on cameo, but a major part. Over the next 4 years, he appeared in 85 episodes, a steady, high-profile job in a business where steady is rare. And here's where the power imbalance becomes undeniable. Perry wasn't just a director or a co-star, he was the executive producer, the showrunner, the owner of the studio, and the man who literally writes the scripts. Derek's professional life, from his paycheck to his character's survival, which we will come to later, was effectively in Tyler Perry's hands. Derek has said that this made every interaction complicated. When the person who controls your job starts blurring personal and professional lines, saying no isn't simple. It's career threatening. You are not just rejecting a person, you might be rejecting your livelihood. That's the context we need to remember when we hear the allegations. This wasn't two equals negotiating a relationship. This was a billionaire studio owner and an employee whose entire career could be rewritten or written out overnight. Once Derek Dixon was part of the Oval, he says the tone of his relationship with Tyler Perry changed. Slowly at first, then he claims unmistakably. According to the civil complaint, Perry began sending text messages that crossed the line from professional to sexual. One of the messages Derek shared reads, "What's it going to take for you to have guiltless sex? Have y'all found that in therapy yet? I would hope that you would let someone hold and make love to you." Now, let's pause. If you haven't noticed, that's not a scheduling note, nor a misread compliment. That is a sexual proposition from the man who signs your checks and controls your storyline. But it didn't stop with words. Derek says the physical boundary breaking started in January 2020 at Perry's guest house. After an evening of drinks, Derek planned to stay the night in a guest room. He says he climbed into bed, only to notice Tyler Perry climbing in too. According to Derek, Perry began rubbing his leg. Derek jumped up and Perry reportedly said, "Turn around so I can look at you," before leaving the room. Derek thought he had made his lack of interest clear, but things escalated. During production of the show's second season, his character was suddenly scripted to be shot 4 times in the chest, a move Derek interpreted as a warning. As he put it in the ABC interview, "If I don't make him happy, I could stay dead on the show." After filming that scene, Derek claims Perry invited him to have drinks in his trailer. There, Perry allegedly asked if Derek was attracted to him. Hoping to defuse the situation, Derek claims he said he found Perry attractive but wasn't interested. That's when Derek alleges Perry pushed him against the wall and grabbed his backside, his arse if you grew up in Ireland. And then there's the most disturbing allegation of all. In June 2021, Derek visited Perry's Atlanta home. He says Perry mixed drinks and repeatedly questioned him about his sex life. Later, Perry reportedly led him to the guest house bathroom under the pretense of showing him a weight monitor, then told Derek he needed to be in his underwear to measure. Derek recounts what happened next with striking clarity. He says, "He reached down and pulled my underwear down and grabbed my ass. I tried to stop him and pull my underwear back up, and he grabbed my arms and said, 'No, it's okay. Just go with it.' I said, 'Stop. I don't want to be naked.'" Derek says he eventually locked himself alone in the guest house bathroom to get away. Let's pause on that. If true, this isn't a misunderstanding. It's not flirtation gone wrong. This is physical violation. Allegedly pulling someone's underwear down and telling them, "Just go with it," is a textbook abuse of power and consent. After that, Derek says he began distancing himself. By spring 2024, he ended communication with Perry and left the Oval that September. A show he'd been writing, Losing It, which Perry owned the rights to, was never developed beyond the pilot. These are allegations, but they are detailed, consistent, and fit a pattern seen in other Hollywood abuse cases. A slow grooming process, escalating boundary violations, and finally, career retaliation when the victim resists. Tyler Perry, through his attorney Matthew Boyd, has categorically denied all of these allegations. In a statement to ABC News, Boyd called Derek Dixon's claims fabricated and said, "This is an individual who got close to Tyler Perry for what now appears to be nothing more than setting up a scam. Tyler will not be shaken down, and we are confident these fabricated claims of harassment will fail." Well, that is a sharp and an aggressive response, one designed to frame the lawsuit as a financial ploy rather than a cry for justice. But here's where the conversation deepens. Derek Dixon didn't just walk into court with a dollar figure. Before filing his $260 million civil lawsuit, he first filed a complaint with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the federal agency that handles workplace harassment and discrimination claims. That's a standard, often required, step when the core issue is harassment and retaliation on the job. And the number, $260 million, wasn't random. As Dixon explained, it was partly to account for lost work and lost income, including the shelving of his own show, losing it, and partly as a deterrent. He says, "How do you stop a billionaire who won't stop themselves from doing this?" Now, we must be precise here. These are allegations in a civil case. Civil suits are not criminal trials, but in all fairness, no criminal charges have been announced as of now. Perry is innocent until proven otherwise. But legal process aside, denial is not proof of innocence, especially when the alleged behavior involves private, behind closed doors encounters where power and careers are on the line. And Derek has showed messages, if true, they seem to show that Perry was crossing the line. In fact, many of the most notorious Hollywood abuse cases, from Harvey Weinstein to Les Moonves, began with fierce denials and accusations of extortion before evidence and testimony built into something undeniable. The heart of this case isn't whether a dollar amount shocks us. It's about whether a man with vast influence allegedly used that influence to corner an employee into sexual situations and then allegedly retaliated when rebuffed. And if Derek Dixon's testimony is accurate, that's not just morally wrong. It is exactly what SH law was designed to stop. One thing we have to talk about is Tyler Perry's relationship, his privacy, and, well, his long-running speculation. Tyler Perry has always kept his private life tightly guarded, and there may be a reason for doing such a thing. What is publicly known is that he shares a son with Jalila Bekele. I hope I'm saying that name correctly. If I'm not, I do apologize. She is a model and a humanitarian he has described as, at one point, his girlfriend, a longtime partner, etc. In interviews, he has spoken about how she video called him to share the news of the pregnancy and how fatherhood changed him.
We know very little about Tyler Perry's private life.
Yeah.
We know the studio,
Yeah.
Galila Bekele, girlfriend for many years.
Goddess. Yeah.
How long have you been together?
Off and on, 2007. Yeah.
And how did you ultimately know that this was the person you wanted to build a life with?
When I got a call on FaceTime, it was so strange. I was in the very arena that I had played, and I got the test results back, the DNA test, saying that my father wasn't my father. I'm in the exact same arena. A year or two later, I get a FaceTime call and she's holding up the pregnancy stick. I'm like, I guess this is happening. But there's no other person on this planet that I would want to be involved with or have a child with, because she's amazing.
Now, I'm bringing this up because it has importance. Over the years, rumors about Perry's sexuality have circulated widely, dating back to at least the early 2000s. Perry has never said he is gay, and in fact, he has dismissed those rumors in the past, attributing them partly to his famous portrayal of a female character, Medea. Some entertainment writers and bloggers have speculated that Perry's strong black church audience, the cornerstone of his career, may influence his choice to stay private. Although again, this is all speculation.
Look, I've been saying this for years. I think if Tyler just came out of the closet, I mean, this is a man, you know, his claim to fame was dressing up like a woman.
No, he can't do that. He can't come out the closet. Because his core audience is the church audience.
I was going to say that.
Can't do that. So,
but don't you think by 2025, the church is just a little bit more accepting about this kind of thing?
They've always been accepting about it, but it's always about, you know, just don't let that be the main thing you come in the door with when it comes to the church. In the church, look, the choir directors, you know, is a queen, this guy.
Right.
People know.
Like there's no gay people in the black church.
Right. They know. They already know. They know. But when you come in the door with that, that will rub them the wrong way. And not to say that you should hide or whatever, but it's just, you know, keeping your private life private. You know?
All right, Tariq. Right now, Tyler Perry announced that he's gay. Would you be shocked at all?
No.
Others have gone further, alleging, without proof, that his relationship with Jalila was more of a public cover than a conventional romantic partnership. A few even claim Jalila may have dated other people while Perry continued to refer to her as his girlfriend. It is critical to underline that these are unverified allegations and rumours, not established facts. Perry himself has consistently maintained his privacy and denied claims about his sexuality. That said, these long-standing questions do shape how some people interpret the current lawsuit. If, and only if, Goku please, Derek Dixon's allegation. If, and only if, Derek Dixon's allegations of SH and assault were proven true, and if it were also true that Perry misrepresented key parts of his personal life, then it would raise disturbing questions about secrecy and deception. In that hypothetical scenario, the issue would not be his sexuality, that's something private. It would be the alleged abuse of power and dishonesty around relationships. If it's proven that you have been SHing a man, well, that does change the dynamics completely. As some observers put it, what has been alleged is not just misconduct towards one actor. It's the possibility of building a public family narrative to deflect scrutiny while privately violating someone's trust and bodily autonomy. It is 2025. You can live however you want to. So if it turns out someone's been lying to us, and on top of that, using and abusing their power to harass some unknown actor, well, this does not look good for Perry. If the allegations are true. Again, these connections are speculations, not confirmed facts, but they explain why. For people who have followed Tyler Perry's public and private image over the years, the fact that a male actor was the one to accuse him, and not a female, did not come as a shock. And why the case raises deeper questions about power, privacy, and most of all, truth. When you step back, Derek Dixon's allegations don't appear in a vacuum. They land in a Hollywood with a long, ugly history of powerful men allegedly leveraging careers for sex and using influence to keep people silent. Think about the arc we've seen before. Private invitations that seem professional at first, gradual boundary pushing, texts that feel personal but ambiguous, then the quiet escalation, a late night drink, a closed door meeting, and a just go with it moment. And when the person resists, careers stall, characters get killed off, projects disappear. It's the same pattern we heard about with Harvey Weinstein. It's the same pattern former CBS head Les Moonves was accused of. The power imbalance doesn't just enable the misconduct, it also mutes the victim. When someone controls the paycheck, the script, or the future, saying no isn't just uncomfortable, it can feel like professional unaliving. And at this time, something else worked in Tyler Perry's favor. The day Derek Dixon's ABC interview aired, the murder of Charlie Kirk dominated every headline, and rightly so. Of course, it was shocking, it was sad, it's a tragedy. Normally, a $260 million SA lawsuit against a billionaire entertainment mogul would be the talk of the industry for days, but instead this story barely registered. Major outlets gave it minimal coverage, and the algorithm that decides what the world sees simply didn't put it in front of most people. And I understand why. That being said, I think it's fair to listen to Derek, to hear him out, to hear his claims. I've watched the interview. He seems to be recounting something that he seems to have lived, although that's just my opinion. It's up to you to decide what you think. Of course, this will be going to trial, I imagine. So there we will learn more. At the end of the day, these are only accusations. But all I can say is that a billionaire with a lot of power taking advantage of somebody who was previously unknown, well, it's not the first time we've heard about this. Whether accidental or not, the effect was the same. Silence, at least for now. And silence is where abuse of power thrives. And we can thank one of Tyler's friends, Prince Harry, for giving us some sound advice about abusers. Let's take a listen.
Silence only allows the abuser to abuse, right?
So, I will leave you with my 2 cents. After listening to Derek Dixon's interview and reviewing the details of his lawsuit, I keep coming back to one fact. If even a portion of what he alleges is true, Tyler Perry abused his power, not only as an employer, but as one of the most influential figures in entertainment. Perry is not a mid-level producer. He is a billionaire with a 330-acre studio, dozens of hit projects, and the power to launch or end a career with a single script edit. That level of influence is supposed to come with responsibility. Instead, if these allegations are accurate, it became a weapon Derek Dixon isn't claiming perfection. He even said in his interview that he felt shame, that he questioned what he could have done differently. That kind of self-doubt is common for survivors of harassment. It's part of why so many stay silent. To me, his willingness to admit vulnerability adds to his credibility. The most disturbing image remains the alleged moment when Perry pulled down Derek's underwear and said, allegedly, no, it's okay, just go with it. That is not a grey area if true. That is not two adults misreading signals. If true, it is a deliberate violation. Perry's team, of course, flatly denies everything, calling it a scam. He has every legal right to defend himself, and a courtroom will ultimately sort out the claims. But denial alone does not erase the seriousness of what's alleged, nor should it silence public scrutiny. Accountability here means more than a verdict. It means Hollywood taking a hard look at the unchecked power structures that allow this behaviour to flourish. It means studios putting real safeguards in place so that no actor's livelihood depends on tolerating misconduct. It means the public refusing to let timing or algorithms or celebrity status bury a story like this. At the very least, it means listening to people like Derek Dixon who risk everything to speak out. Tyler Perry has built an empire on stories of morality and faith and redemption, but if Derek Dixon's account is true, the reality behind the camera is very different, and no amount of wealth, fame, or good deeds can excuse the harm caused by abusing power. Silence is the soil where abuse grows. Breaking that silence, even when the world is looking the other way, is how change starts. So that is where we will leave it today. Derek Dixon's allegations against Tyler Perry are serious, and that combination of power, privacy, and timing makes this an important case to follow closely, which I will be doing. I'll be watching for every development from court filings to news interviews, and will update you as more facts come to light. Whatever happens next, this story raises bigger questions about influence, accountability, and how easily crucial conversations can be buried. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next update. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. We'll open up the chat there. Bye.